When I say climate change, what comes to mind?
What comes to mind is greenhouse gases, the ozone layer, and human influences.
When I say climate change, what comes to mind?
Uh, Maybe we start this over.
When I say climate change, what comes to mind?
Okay, I gotta think about that.
How important or urgent is fixing climate change to you in your daily life?
Well, I think it's very important because, especially on the internet, I see a bunch of I don't know if they're real or not, but claims or things that scientists have said about how the Earth will be looking like in the future, and it's where we live. And I think it's very important that we make sure that we provide a better place for us and future generations to live in.
Now, how often during your average day do you think about the environment around you and your impact on it?
Probably not as much as I should. And probably for a lot of people, I think that's true, is that we don't really think about it as much as we should. Because, it's easy. Because a lot of the changes, with the polar ice caps and stuff like that, we don't see it every day. And so, I think that, a lot of times it is easy to forget about it. And so, I think that's part of, I think, the way that we need to go moving forward is thinking about it more often and just kind of incorporating new habits into our everyday lives to, make it more sustainable.
When people hear about climate change, many of them don't know how to properly make a difference. A lot of people end up getting lost in a sea of misinformation and don't end up getting the right facts. This is the question we've set out to answer. How can the average person help fight climate change? Does it require major life changes, or just something as simple as recycling bottles?
So to understand why climate change is such a big issue, we have to look at the reasons why it's happening. One of the main reasons why climate change is happening today is because of humanity's production of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide emissions contribute to the greenhouse gas effect, which drastically increases the amount of heat that gets trapped in our atmosphere. About 30% of all carbon dioxide atoms get diffused also into our oceans, which then heat up all of our waters and harm aquatic ecosystems, according to NASA's Earth Observatory. Since 1750, all of Earth's oceans have dropped to 0.1 on the pH scale, which is a 30% increase in acidity, according to NASA. The reason Earth's oceans have gotten so acidic is because carbon dioxide, CO2, reacts with water, H2O, to form carbonic acid, H2CO3. And it's an unlivable substance for all marine animals because they cannot breathe in it, and then in turn harms all other ecosystems that rely on the ocean. Not only have Earth's oceans been affected, but up here on the surface we have been as well. Since 1880, the amount of greenhouse gases increasing in our atmosphere has caused an average of 1.4 degrees Fahrenheit temperature difference. Now, NASA has also found that of all the permafrost in our northern hemisphere, contains about 1,672 billion tons of organic carbon, which, if melted, would lead to about another 1.3 degrees Fahrenheit, which would drastically change temperatures for the worse.
In 1985, scientists discovered a massive hole in the ozone, which they discovered was occurring due to the presence of chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons coming from aerosol cans. These chemicals, which are normally inert, when combined with ultraviolet light from the sun's rays, were discovered to eat up a lot of the ozone very quickly, allowing for more ultraviolet rays from the sun to get through the ozone layer and affect us down on Earth. According to the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists, the holes in the ozone contribute to the greenhouse gas effect as well, allowing for the Earth to become further heated and allowing humans to come into contact with ultraviolet rays, which can be potentially cancer-causing and very dangerous. Now that we know some of the causes of climate change, it's also important to recognize some of the adverse effects it has on the environment. Increasing temperatures worldwide have led to the thinning of the ice caps, just like this ice cube right here. Because of the thinning ice caps, sea levels have risen and water temperatures have as well. This has disrupted the fragile balance that exists in ecosystems across the world, endangering things like Adelie penguins, polar bears, and staghorn coral. Due to the melting ice caps, more water has been entering mountain rivers. According to Bioscience magazine, this has been changing the mountain rivers' physiochemical characteristics, and therefore the aquatic communities that are connected to them. Higher temperatures aren't just affecting the ice caps, they're also detrimental to life on land. According to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, higher temperatures and water shortages during the summertime have led to decrease in plague. The National Center for Biotechnology Information did a study in 2016 finding that at temperatures above 90 degrees, crop yields of soybeans, cotton, and corn drastically decrease as temperatures continue to rise. Area weighted average yields are predicted to decrease by 30 to 46% before the end of the century under the slowest warming scenario, and decrease by 63 to 82% under the most rapid warming scenario. Because there are higher temperatures on land, the growing seasons last longer, meaning that the plants need more water to get the same crop yields as before. This isn't just a problem on land though. Species under the ocean are also having problems due to increasing water temperatures. The carbonic acid formed in the oceans not only decreases the pH, but it also reacts with carbonate ions in the ocean to form bicarbonate. According to the NASA Earth Observatory, this robs shell-building creatures like coral of the carbonate ions that they need to build their calcium carbonate shells. Because of the lack of these ions, the shells end up being weaker and more fragile. Now that we know the causes and effects of climate change, what can we do to help solve it? Well, one simple answer that everyone can do is recycling.
According to Forbes, the World Watch Institute found that 50 to 51% of our greenhouse gas emissions come from our agriculture, producing dairy and meat, rather than what we previously thought it to be, about 14.5 to 18%. And this jump is huge because it means that whenever you're at the grocery store and considering getting something that's meat or dairy, you are actually harming the environment a lot more than if you got vegetables or fruit. And this is why being a vegetarian or a vegan is a really good option to consider if you really want to help be environmentally friendly. So for a lot of people, when they're thinking about what they can do to help solve climate change, they don't realize that one of the best things they can do is just to tell other people and be an activist for fixing climate change. According to the National Resources Defense Council, one of the best things to do is just to tell other people what's happening in our environment and some steps we can take to fix it. Small things that if everyone does, it can create a global change. Another people don't take into account when thinking about the environment is the impact you can have when talking to your legislators and local political officials. For example, the Renewable Fuel Standard, a process passed by the EPA in 2014, helps to establish biofuel as our main means of energy consumption, which then in turn would lower our greenhouse gas emissions and help to reduce our overall impact we have on the environment. However, because Congress and many other shareholder organizations aren't in favor of passing the Renewable Fuel Standard and its pathway to getting clean energy, no changes happen. This is why getting your voice out there is so important, because without you, other people might not join in, and because of that, we can get a full snowball effect in the opposite direction of the way we want to go. After all of our findings, what we've come to realize is that, climate change is here to stay, so we have to do all we can to fix it. We as a society have burnt so many fossil fuels and created so much carbon dioxide that has diffused into our atmosphere, caused damage to it all, and affected us in so many ways, both on land and in the sea, that we need to do something about it. Climate change is disrupting the natural balance of Earth's ecosystems, and there's no doubting it. So we need to take initiative and preserve it. To help prevent ourselves from reaching a point of no return with climate change, we all need to reduce our carbon footprints, make others more aware of what they're doing so they can follow suit, and in general, we just need to enjoy the environment we have so that others can in the future for generations to come.
But in your daily life, how often do you think about the state of the environment around you?
Yeah, so when I walk outside, I feel like I'm dying.
Right.
And it's nice and steady.
Always tough to question. Recycling.